I'd like to call the Macomb City Council Committee of the Whole to order, please, if the clerk would call the roll.
Justin Shu,
Present.
John Vajezi,
Here.
Byron Shabazz,
Here.
Dave Dorsett,
Present.
Ashley Katz, here, Don Wynn,
Here.
Dennis Moon,
Here.
7 present.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Citizens wishing to address the Committee of the Whole on matters germane to the agenda of tonight's meeting will be limited to 3 minutes and are asked to be brief and concise in making their remarks. Comments submitted by mail or email will not be read aloud, but a copy will be provided to each member of the council and made a part of the minutes of this meeting. Does anyone wish to speak to the council in the public comment section of our agenda this evening? Mr. Louderman. I'm sorry? Sure. And you're welcome to step up here if you want, so it's a little easier to see.
Good evening, council members and aldermen of the city of Macomb, Deputy City Clerk, Mayor Inman, City Administrator, and Lisa Scouth, the City Attorney. My name is Monty Louderman. I am a lifetime resident of Macomb, Illinois, and have lived on this East 1000th Street for over 32 years. And I live within 1/2 a mile, or 2,640 feet, from the proposed facility. I'm here as a concerned resident of McDonough County, and more specifically of Chalmers Township, and being one of the residents that live on this street. I have handed out to you maps regarding the subject property here tonight that the motion is over, along with flow charts of water flow, excess water flow from that property south. And as indicated on those maps, you can see it leads directly to a small lake on the Trenopole property. And also note the distances that were taken off of a GIS map and given to you in that packet as well. There's 27 homes located within 1 mile of this property, several of them having their own small lake or ponds on the property. There's over 45 homes and driveways off East 1000th Street. We are concerned with the runoff and the drainage flow and some EPA issues as well, as the drainage runs from the north to the south. Immediate drainage from the Cambridge property flows south over the T. Waller property and onto the Trenopole property and ending up in the lake. Extended drainage to other small ponds, including eventually the Jordan Creek. I do want to make note of the lagoon that's identified on one of the maps from the mobile home park to the north. There's no benefit to our neighborhood with this. Power created, generated to be for Ameren customers. We are all McDonough Power customers. Loss of protective farmland is a concern. Reduction of real estate values, taxes received. There's liability and maintenance of the facility that we're concerned with. Disposal of the panels at the end of the life, and noise and the loss of tax dollars to Chalmers Township. The city of Macomb is making the residential rural neighbors live with something that will not benefit them in any way, shape, or form, and we believe that there are better locations for such a facility. We ask that you vote no for the special use permit that would allow large-scale solar farm to be built on the property. A no vote here tonight or a motion to table would mean you believe there needs to be more research conducted before a decision is made. You recognize there are concerns regarding the water flow and drainage issues to private lakes and ponds and private wells. There are better locations for this, and you believe a rushed decision before the end of the year is not necessary. I have not discussed how we got to this point here tonight because I don't have the time allotted to do so. That's another story within itself.
Mr. Louderman, your time is up.
All right,
sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ma'am. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Liz Reddington, and I'm here for the applicant. Pivot Energy is thankful for city staff for facilitating a robust dialogue with several meetings between county residents and Pivot. We hope the changes we made to our proposal to help address concerns, show Pivot's sincere desire to be a good long-term neighbor. We agree with city staff that a solar project is an appropriate, soft development at this location, particularly in comparison to the much more intensive uses that are allowed by right on the M2 general manufacturing parcel. We acknowledge that change is not easy, especially on land that may have previously had a consistent use. We believe our project brings benefits to the Macomb community, and we are proud to help the family pursue their rights as property owners, as they have done for many generations. We hope members of the public respect their rights as they would want their own rights respected. We appreciate the city's interest in updating the notification process to ensure future developments increase the radius when outside of city limits for all kinds of development, not just solar. And while we know our application process was fully compliant with Macomb's city code, we are believers in public engagement and support that future standard. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Reddington.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
I have 2 more signed petitions against the solar facility.
Okay, thank you.
Heart attack last week. My name is Kathy Waller, and I live on East 1000th, about a quarter mile from the proposed facility. I have canvassed our rural road and have spoken with the residents. An overwhelming majority are opposed to this facility. Our concerns with living next to and driving through a large-scale industrial power plant include, number 1, quality of life. This solar facility would certainly disrupt our rural way of life. 2, health issues. Some studies have shown a rise in cancer rates, especially childhood leukemia. Other health issues include heart issues, nausea, sleeplessness, and anxiety. Number 3, destruction of farmland and the inability to ever reclaim this ground for crops due to soil compaction and destruction of the microbiome. Number 4, livestock concerns, mostly with respect to fertility and weight gain. Number 5, lowered property values. Number 6, noise pollution from the inverters and harmful electromagnetic frequencies. Number 7, water runoff causing pollution. Number 8, solar facilities create heat islands and raise local surface temperatures. Number 9, local ecosystems will be disrupted and wildlife displaced. Number 10, will there be a proper visual barrier, a minimum 8-foot solid fence? Number 11, will green spaces be maintained? How? There's no water at the site. Number 12, many solar facilities store energy in lithium batteries. If there were to be a fire, it would be incredibly difficult to put out, and the smoke damage would be catastrophic. Number 13, proper cleanup of disposal and panels and all related concerns after the useful life of the facility. Number 14, lack of accountability for Pivot Solar and lack of understanding of the rural residents' concerns. 15, extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city and lack of representation for our rural residents. Nebraska Senator Tom Brewer remarked on 12/9 of 2024, the new president is going to take office in a few weeks. He has stated he will do away with the renewable energy subsidy called the Production Income Tax Credit. Since this renewable gravy train is about to end, solar companies are scrambling to get their projects locked in before the federal government announces a deadline. These solar companies are here to harvest a corrupt federal subsidy. They have absolutely no interest in your small rural community. You need to choose wisely who you grant a conditional use permit to. I personally called Johnny McKee and asked him if he was the one who requested this be voted on by the end of the year. He told me no, it didn't matter to him. It was the solar company who requested the rush through. It is simply ludicrous that a project of this size and scope with the ability to do so much damage is being rammed through without more study. I ask that this special use permit be denied or at the very least tabled so we can take more time to study the very serious ramifications that this will have on our rural way of life. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Excuse me. Anyone else?
Glasses on here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Brian Waller, and I live on East 1000th Street as well. You've heard me voice my objections over the last few meetings, probably getting tired of me, to the special use permit based on many concerns, such as the impact on the visual quality of our residential road, excessive inverter noise, health concerns, disrupted watershed, reduced property values, and just the overall disruption of our quiet country lives. As I have stated before, this is a residential area and not suited to this type of large-scale industrial facility. Please move this project to a better area that's suited and does not affect as many people. Some of my neighbors and I have attended meetings speaking out against this facilities. Others have turned out in numbers to show their objections, and we have now turned in petitions with 51 signatures of people up and down East 1000th Street that oppose this facility. Yet it would appear that city administration has no intentions of listening to the people affected by this solar installation. Seems wrong on a lot of levels. I don't want to be combative here, but the city did the minimum required to alert us to their intentions. You were able to hold a planning commission meeting with no one present to object. Those of us that had just found out that day what was going on at that meeting, we had a conflicting township caucus meeting to attend that evening, so we couldn't make it. We did have 14 people call in and object to the planning commission. Did no good. Didn't change the outcome. Now we're trying to get this passed as quickly as possible by the end of the year. What's the rush? Are we in fact worried that this funding might dry up with the new administration coming in? What is our hurry? Let's pump the brakes. Those of us affected by this solar plant are not Macomb residents. However, the city's reaching into our county township, changing our lives. At the same time, taking tax base from the county by annexing the property, while none of the county board members were aware of any of the plans. I don't know. I've talked to a lot of them. None of them knew anything. This is not about sustaining green energy. It's about green money. It's about increasing tax base for Macomb without any concern for those who might object. I ask the alderman, please listen to the people directly affected by this. Listen to our objections and say no to the special use permit. If we can't say no tonight, can we slow this down? Can we pump the brakes? This is traveling pretty fast. There's a lot of people that are affected by this, and we're voicing that to you. And for this just to slide through without more discussion, more research, and let's not just take our research from Pivot Energy. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. There's more for us to research. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
My name's Alicia Shaka. I apologize. Last meeting, I did not introduce my name. I had quite a bit of factual information I wanted to get through, and I needed every second possible. I'm a resident of the city of Macomb. My parents are Walter and Dana Derry. I'm going to get choked up. They're here tonight. They lived on their property for 50 years, and they're opposed to this, as well am I. I appreciate the opportunity to rebuttal what Pivot Energy representative has said here today, that it seems as though most of us are upset at the change in land use. We are not upset at the change in land use per se, but at the process and the inability to face facts of what this means to the land itself with erosion and things of that nature. So the thing is that I am not against solar. I consider myself an environmentalist, but this use of solar is what I have a problem with. The field next to my parents, where they can do whatever they want with, it's zoned general manufacturing. It happens to have about a 20-foot drop from one field to the other in quick succession, which then leads into right here. This is where the drop starts, right into this 20-acre lake. Everybody here has wells. Their water is coming from here. Solar has not been studied enough due to the proliferation of it in the last 10 to 15 years. That's what we're concerned about. Yes, we know there's studies one way or the other, but the longevity of the studies is not here. So we don't know how this is really going to affect us, and that's why everyone is so worried and why we want to stop the process, slow it any way possible, so that if you won't vote no, at least we can better understand how it's going to affect us and try to mitigate that in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, anyone else?
Hi, my name is Kathy Chenoweth. I live at 11370 East 1000 Street. I do have a question for you guys. Would you guys want to live next to a solar farm? Would you like to listen to the converters making noise 24/7? I know when I get off work and you have to deal with people, when it's nice outside, I want to sit outside on my deck. I want to listen to the birds. I want to hear Kathy's dogs barking. Anything besides no. But what I don't get is you guys making decisions for us. I've lived there for 32 years and everything. It's been peaceful. I used to live in Macomb. I didn't like it because actually I was raised on the farm. So we moved out in the farm and it's peaceful. Everybody knows everybody, you know. If somebody needs something, they're there. But just, you know, when you're making your decision, just think of what you would want. Would you want to live by a solar farm? I know I wouldn't. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Excuse me, anyone else?
My name is Walter Derry, and I live on East 1000 Street, adjacent to the property where the solar farm's going. I do object to the solar farm being next to my property, but what I'd really like to do is for you people that are involved in this is to watch a video. It's called The Lost Century.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You're going to have to speak up.
What I would like for you to do is listen to a documentary. It's called The Lost Century. It's on YouTube, or you can Google it. Whatever you decide tonight, please watch the movie before you decide the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me. Anyone else?
My name's Mark Zarniger. I live on East 1000, about 3/4 mile from this proposed project. So I haven't lived on that road near as long as most of these residents. I've only lived there for 7 years. I picked my house, my wife and I did, because of the residential not being anywhere around. I mean, it's local. I knew most people on this road. You put the solar farm there, I mean, at least if you think about putting it there, like everyone has said, they don't want to live next to it. So how is Chalmers going to get any more money for our local township if we can't get the young people back in here? The houses will start to go to ruin after people start to move away. And then Chalmers is going to be heavily affected by this because we're not going to get the revenue. You guys are going to take the land, annex it into the city, raise the property value just for city folk. I mean, it's not going to be city versus country, whatever. I'm not trying to pin it that way. But you're taking the land and tax revenue away from Chalmers. We're already struggling because we can't get people to live out there. We can't get people to build homes out there. But then you're going to put a solar farm out there, and we're going to have to deal with the negative side while you guys get all the benefit. I understand. I mean, we need new ways of producing energy. I get that. I'm not opposed to solar. But the rush through on this and the way we dealt with it, the fact that someone said the planning committee didn't know there was a caucus the night that they were meeting. because you didn't talk to anybody. So, I mean, this should have never been pushed the way it was. That, I think, is the biggest problem all of us have right now, is you guys push this thing without giving anyone from Chalmers notification. And the little itty-bitty sign, I mean, could have given a little more. And, I mean, that's our biggest issue, I think, is I can't speak for everybody, but it sounds like that's our problem, is you guys did the minimum effort to this. So I would at least like you guys to push this vote back. So thank you for you guys' time. Happy holidays.
Thank you, sir.
Tara Litchfield, County Board Member, also a Township Clerk for Chalmers Township. I just want to reiterate what Mark said as far as the notice. It was horrible. We did not get any notification, not our Chalmers Township Board. County did not know anything about it. And I feel like that this is a misrepresentation of Chalmers Township residents for you guys to be deciding upon our welfare. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Anyone else? Alrighty, that'll conclude the public comments. We would note for the record that we did receive one email with input, and that correspondence has been distributed to the council as indicated at the beginning of the meeting. Move on to item number 1. Discussion and consideration of an ordinance authorizing a special use permit to allow large-scale solar in an AG1 agricultural zoning district on a parcel located within Section 3 of Chalmers Township, McDonough County, Illinois. Alderman, have any questions for staff regarding the issue at hand? Alderman Vajezi.
Not just per staff, but there's been a lot of misinformation that's been placed out on this. First off, this was not a city initiative. This was the landowner initiative, saying that the city did not follow protocol when pushing this project forward. The city did 100% of what was required to go ahead and do this. The city did not post signs on the property. I received an email from somebody with a picture of the sign on there, that the city did not send notices to the landowners within 250 feet, which they did. Unfortunately, in the country, the houses sit a little bit farther out, so we've changed how the ordinance is now being done as far as sending out protocol to make sure everybody gets notices. And that the city did place a notice for a special use that wasn't placed in the newspaper. It was placed in the newspaper. The bottom line behind this is that the property that is being questioned, there's two properties. There's an M1 and an AG1. The M1, whether this gets voted no tonight, can still be done. It doesn't matter. So the bottom line is there's going to be a solar farm out there. So I want everybody to make sure they understand that. The east property, which is M2, the city can only oversee the site plan and the setbacks due to the location. The west property, which is the AG1, which seems to be where everybody is complaining about, the potential special use will allow the city to oversee this area. By the city allowing the special use on this property, the city can then add conditions, i.e. a wider vegetation, a taller fence, special use, those type of things. So we've already looked at 4 or 5 additional items that can be done to make sure this is more appealing. If the special use is not granted, the landowner can ask for that AG1 to be rezoned as an M2. So I hope you understand that also. And I don't see any reason that the board would not allow that to be happening because there's no reason for it not to be redone. So I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be able to go through. I went out to the one that's the solar farm that's out off of University. I stepped out of my car. I could not hear anything. I walked up to the fence line. I could not hear anything. So, you know, I hear everybody saying that these are really loud. They're not that loud. I went over to Woodland Estates and asked residents over there if they could hear it. They cannot. So I understand you have some concerns, but a lot of this is possibly because it's in your backyard. And I completely understand that. But by allowing the city to approve this, the special use will allow the city to monitor and oversee the solar farm. If issues arise, community development can intercede and ensure that they're rectified. Without the land owner, there's no one that can make sure this is being done correctly. So it is in your benefit to allow this to go through and be rezoned as a special, or be zoned be a special use. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that one of the sides is going in, it's just a matter of one side or both sides.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alderman Shue.
Can you, some of the comments last week, and as I've heard about, and some of the theme tonight is a feeling that there's overreach from the city. Can someone just kind of talk a little bit more about the city's view on some of those comments, or bring that to life a little bit more?
Sure. I think the city attorney has some information she wants to share regarding that.
In terms of the extraterritorial jurisdiction that is permitted under the Illinois Municipal Code, we've also adopted within our code the ability to provide zoning districts in that 1.5 miles that is permitted under the Illinois Municipal Code. So everything that we're doing is within state statute as well as in compliance with our local codes, which have been on the books. Last time that section was addressed was in 1997. And I'm sorry I didn't go back and see what change was made in 97, but based on how long I've been out of high school, it's been a long time.
Thank you.
Unfortunately.
Anything else, Alderman Shue?
I'll wait. Thanks.
Okay, Alderman Dorsett.
Yeah, I was there in 1997. That was the first time we did the extraterritorial zoning because we had not incorporated it until that time. A good portion of that was to protect watershed that we did have. I've heard a lot about folks not being represented. We have 2 solar fields within city limits currently. One of those in the 5th Ward has a ward alderman, 2 at-large aldermen, and a mayor, all of whom are elected to represent them. The setback on that solar field, which is permitted by right because it's in an M2, I paced it off over the weekend from the corner of one house to a solar panel is about 30 feet. 30 feet. And standing at that fence line, I heard nothing. Now, say my tinnitus could probably prevent that from happening, but there have been no complaints, either from Woodland Estates or the folks at Rain Tree, about sound. So I don't think that the fact that we don't have a sitting alderman for you is going to make the difference between that. These are people who are in the city limits, and they've got a solar farm literally in their backyard.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other discussion? Alderman Shabazz.
This is a really simplistic question, but what will they actually see? Right? Is there something that's going up that they can't see, or will they actually see the solar panels?
Miranda, do you want to try to answer that?
Good evening, everyone. So in your agenda on the very back page shows the updated site plan with Pivot. So what you're going to see, the green outline here that covers the entirety of the east parcel where the solar is going to be, as well as the west, is going to have a vegetation buffer. And then going north-south on East 1000th, there will be a vegetation buffer covering that. And there will be a, at the request of the residents, an opaque fence on that east end and that west end for that to cover the panels there, and then their traditional fencing on the other sides of their property. So it will have fencing and an opaque fence there, as well as a vegetation buffer.
Thank you.
Yep.
The fence will be on the south end,
Yes.
on the east parcel and the west parcel on the south end.
South end. So where you see the vegetation buffer on the south end.
Is there, one more question.
Go ahead, sir.
Is there anything that talks about the diminishing of property values because of, did you look at any projects anywhere else that looked at affecting property values?
So the research that we have been provided and have seen through a number of different solar projects, because that has been a point of conversation, especially with Planning Commission, especially when it's something where it has a special use to it, does not show that, because again, it's able to have things through a vegetation buffer, being able to be maintained along those lines. So through what the articles show, that is not what we're seeing.
No fence along the road.
Pardon me, sir?
No fence.
So we're going to be in order. Thank you. Do you have more questions, Alderman Shabazz?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
It was answered.
Alderman Shu, did you have a?
Yeah, while you're up there, thank you, Miranda. Another alderman mentioned the two different types of property there. So can you, and maybe as was mentioned in one of the comments about some of the changes that have been made by Pivot and the landowners, so some of the barriers you just mentioned are on both pieces, right? Which would not necessarily be required for our discussion.
Correct. So on the east end, because it is zoned M2, the only thing that will be required through an M2 project would be that we do a site plan, and our code states that what a solar project requires is a setback of 50 feet. So by something that Pivot is willing to do, even though it's not required on both the east and west parcel, is to do those extra measures in terms of the vegetation buffer as well as the fence and the additional of a setback of 75 feet.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Alderman Nguyen.
We got this type of fence here. Was this discussed at any one time, or is
Yes.
this?
So that is the opaque fence that, based on what the residents were looking for in terms of an actual wooded fence, not an agricultural fence, what they would want to see on that south side. So that's going to be what it goes in on that south side border on both the east and west parcel.
And this would border the road on either side?
On the road, so the east and west of the properties and the north side would be an agricultural fence.
Okay.
The vegetation barrier would still go along the road, though, as well.
Still go along the road.
The only place the vegetation buffer will not be is on the north side of the property near the train tracks, and then on the east side of the parcel, the east section, and then on the west side of the parcel, the west section. So where no other residents are.
Anything else, Alderman Nguyen? Nothing. Anyone else?
Can I ask two questions?
No, sir. Sorry. Any other discussion by the council? Already all gave yourselves power to act to tonight's meeting, and we'd entertain second reading.
Thank you. McDonough Solar 4 LLC and Cambridge Property Group Incorporated have filed an application requesting a special use permit authorizing a large-scale solar farm within a portion of Section 3 Chalmers Township, McDonough County, Illinois, as described in the Exhibit A attached to the ordinance. The subject property is not located within the city limits. Upon receipt of the application, the Office of Community Development scheduled a public hearing for November 20th, 2024, provided written notice of the scheduled hearing to all record owners within 250 feet of the subject property, provided notice of the time and place of the public hearing through publication in the community news brief, and posted a sign at the subject property. The November 20th, 2024 meeting was recessed to December 3rd, 2024 due to lack of quorum. All of the notices were provided in the form and manner as provided by the Unified Development Ordinance of the City of Macomb. Planning Commission did hold the public hearing on the application for special use permit on December 3rd, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. and did vote 5-1 to grant the special use permit and has recommended that council approve the special use permit. If adopted, the ordinance provides that the subject property, described in Exhibit A, would be granted a special use permit authorizing a large-scale solar within a portion of Section 3 Chalmers Township, McDonough County, Illinois. The applicant has agreed to apply the conditions to the site plan for the portion of the farm on the east side of North 1000th Road, but that is not a condition of issuance of the special use permit. The special use permit would be expressly subject to the following conditions: that the project be constructed in accordance with an approved site plan, that any required landscaping be maintained pursuant to the approved site plan, that the approved site plan would include an opaque fence for the entire length of the southern border of the project, and that the developer would seek a variance for that fence to be 10 feet in height, but that allowance and approval of that variance would not be a precondition to development of the project, that the current location of the southern border as depicted in the tentative site site plan attached as Exhibit B would not move further south, but may move north to increase the distance between the solar array and the southern neighboring properties. That the landscape plan shall include mature growth vegetation defined as at least 5 feet in height at the time of planting along the roadway and through the vegetative border, provided that such plantings are available. That the Office of Community Development would be authorized to issue the special use permit with those conditions, take all actions which may be necessary and proper to effectuate this ordinance, including updating the city's official zoning map.
Thank you. That'll stand as second reading. Motion is in order.
Motion to approve the ordinance authorizing a special use permit to allow large-scale solar in AG1 agricultural zoning district on a parcel within Section 3, Township, McDonough County.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam City Attorney, could you describe the condition under Section 2, number A, that the project be constructed in accordance with an approved site plan? Who has input in that?
Sure. All of our department heads participate in the process to approve a site plan. It initially starts with being submitted to the Office of Community Development. The director of that department then typically sends correspondence out to each of our department heads, includes Public Works, streets, sewer, water, me, all of our department heads, fire, police, and they all review it, are able to make comments on that site plan, propose recommendations as necessary. Primary recommendation we've seen on solar projects in the past was from the fire department to ensure that we had adequate ingress and egress in the event of emergency. Those proposals, suggested modifications would go back to the developer for input modification. And then at the time that we get a final site plan, it would be up to the Office of Community Development to obtain approval from all of our departments before approving that final site plan. And then any construction must be in accordance with that site plan. Any modifications would then have to be approved by everyone involved again.
Thank you. But I did hear you say that specifically the fire department does review those, and they have in the past had input into them.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Shu,
Aye.
Majesi,
Aye.
Shabazz,
No.
Dorset,
Aye.
Katz,
Aye.
Wynn,
No.
Aye.
Moon. Okay, 5-2.
Motion carries 5-2. There is no other items up for discussion this evening, and would like to call an executive session to consider information to the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of an employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body pursuant to Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay, Majesi,
Aye.
Shabazz,
Aye.
Dorset,
Aye.
Katz,
Aye.
Wynn,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Shu.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. For the media, we'll take just a few minutes before we go in. And I do want to thank everyone who came here this evening and has been in touch with us regarding the issue at hand this evening. I appreciate the respect in which you dealt with this project, and I understand the passion you had behind it. Thank you.